Hello, this module introduces the object-oriented coding. Let's start from a function that we defined, how we can create a class. Some of you may ask questions, what is a class? Class is like a template, or you can say a type. For example, if we have Peter, Adam, Kelly, Chris, then we can say they are all students. Then we can create a class called the student first, and then we can construct an object of Peter, object of Adam, object of Kelly, object of Chris. Similarly, if we have investment bank as a class already defined, then we can construct an object of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Blackstone, etc. Okay. A class can be represented over two things: static aspects and behavioral aspects. So static aspects, maybe if it is a student's class, then student name, major, minor, GPA, and so on and so forth. Behavioral aspects is stipend computation, tax calculation, or applying internships. So anything that has some business logic, then we can create a methods within a class or a function that we already considered. In the example of investment banking, then bank name, revenues, CEOs, all those information is in the static aspects. So those are defined as a variable. On the other hand, if there is a investing tech sector, investing media sector, then they are somehow procedural aspects in it. So with that in mind, let's say we already defined grading, right? So here we can define class is defined starting from class, and then we can say section, and then we can say here the variable if you want to define. For example, variable, say a section, each class section has a student and instructor, maybe title of that section. So title, we say that is empty currently, and then instructor, that is also empty string, and then student, we can say, hey, that is a dictionary. Okay. After that, a class has a function. So these are the static aspects. Now we are going to define static aspects. I mean the behavioral aspects. One of the typical behavioral aspects is already defined keyword thing here is init, initialization. And also all the method in a class has the arguments self by default. So self is not something sent from the caller side, but it is defined within this class. So self means, remember that based on a class, we may create multiple objects. So when an object is being handled, then self means something about the current object. When another object is considered, then that object is self. Okay, so that is a self. And then from the second argument, that is the real arguments that we send from, right? So for example, student, instructor, title, they are all coming, then self and student, that is assigned by student, and self instructor, meaning what is the instructor of the object, specific object, say Python class. Okay, then that specific here self that student is the students who are currently enrolled in that Python class. Similarly, instructor, self.instructor means instructor of the current object. So whatever the current object is, if it is a Python section, then the instructor of the Python. So that is being sent from inst, and then self title is tit. Okay. After that, we can say we can create a construct. So for example, Python section is initiated by section by sending student instructor and title. Student, we need to define further here. Okay, so student should be in some dictionary. Instructor, we can simply say John, and title, we can say intro to Python. Then it is defined, but stud, student, in dictionary is not yet defined. So you can say that's what I want to bring here is students, right? So I can bring it from there. And then what I want to say here is this simply an empty array. All right, this is defined. So if you execute this, cd is not defined. Where is std? Oh, this should be stud. Okay. All right, so that is successfully defined. Then how do you know what is what? So we can print, for example, as Python section. What is a Python section? Print a Python section that is an object. So we do not know what it contains. So for example, Python section is a static information. So for example, instructor. What is a Python sections in instructor? And John is there. You can print it more. For example, class is taught by, and then format Python instructor as a Python instructor in the first variable here. So this class is taught by the person. So title comes first. So Python dot title, and then Python dot instructor. Then we can execute it. Python is not defined. It's not Python, but it should be Python section. So it's not that, it should be Python section. Okay, that is an object that we already said, Python section. Python section is an object of, we can say this is a class section. And therefore that section's title is the title that we entered, right? So let's run it. Then it says intro to Python is taught by John. So we'll